Okay, so here's part 2 of content-aware scaling, and I'm going to be totally honest with you here. When I first saw this feature, it demos extremely well. I mean, it looks really, really cool, but I wondered how much I was really going to use it. Okay, it looks great, looks fun, but how much are you really going to use it? And especially as a photographer, I wondered how much I'm going to use it. And I was talking to my friend RC Concepcion about this, and what I'm about to show you is what he showed me, and I started thinking, you know what, it's not a bad idea. All right, so here's the situation. I want to print this out as a 17 by 22, and I've got a frame that size ready to go. And here's what's going to happen. I'm going to create a new document. All right, and width and height, 22 by 17. I'm going to keep the resolution down to 72. Normally, I'd print higher. It's just, as far as demoing this feature, we're going to see a long progress bar, and I'm trying to just make the video run faster for you. So I'm going to keep it down at 72, but that's not going to make a difference in the end. What we're going to do is take this image. I'll use the Move tool, click on it, drag it over the tab up here, and then just drag it back down onto my image. Okay, so obviously it's too big. We can go up here into Free Transform, and then if I just hit Command minus on the Mac or Control minus on a PC, I can zoom out to where I can see these Free Transform handles, and I'm just going to bring this in. Okay, and by the way, I'm holding down the Shift key. You've got to hold down the Shift key to constrain your proportions here. So I'm holding down the Shift key, and I'm just going to get this to where it fits all the way across the image, hit enter or return, and this is what we end up with. So we've got this white space up at the top. Now I could take my Move tool and I could move the image up, print it, and then cut off the sides, and that would give me the borderless look. Or I could maybe make it even smaller and do a matte around it, and that's, we're still going to have our problems with that. But I want a 17 by 22. Okay, so here's where we can make this happen. I can't crop it. I want it to fit this whole page. So I'm going to go up to my select menu down to color range, and I'm just going to just kind of shift click back here and select all this dark area in the background. And I'll hit OK. So that's going to give me a selection. Go over to my channels palette, and we're going to create a new channel from this because we want to protect this area down here. Okay? And let me show you what happens when we don't protect it. When we don't protect it, we're going to get something very similar, because what are your options here? If you didn't have content-aware scaling, you could come up and you could try to clone this in, and that's going to be a royal pain in the butt. Or you could go up here to Free Transform, and you could extend it, but that starts to get to look funky. Okay, so what we can do is go to content-aware scaling, and inside here, if I protect the bottom, it's not going to make that larger as I come up here and I drag this up. Okay, so now I can come up and drag that up. Everything else pretty much remains the same. It's just taken the sky area and it's made it a little bit longer, and now it fits the page. So I can hit enter or return here. Now, the last thing is, and I'll be the first to admit this, is it does make the sunbeams kind of change angle a little bit. You could come up here to filter, go down to something like liquify, and take my gigantic dialog box here and try to make it a little bit smaller for you. There we go. And what I could do is I could take a brush, and let me drop my brush size down here. I could take a brush and I could come in here and just very, very slightly just nudge the middle in here, just so it doesn't look like it changes angles so much. I could fix that with my liquify tool. But what this does is it actually gives me a great place to kind of leave you with a closing thought, and that is, this feature is really, really cool. I just showed you as a photographer one of the ways that you can make this work to fit a certain page or whatnot, and not feel too funky that you're totally changing your photo like we were with the snowboarder. But the end result here is you've got to have an image that this will work for. This image was half and half. I've seen some images where it works great for. I've seen some that are horrible. This was half and half. We had to kind of come in there at the end and fix a little with Liquify. But you've got to have the right image. It's not going to work for anything and for everything. Don't think I can come into this butterfly photo and I can say, well, hey, let me just protect the butterfly. And I want to make this photo wider, so I'm going to make myself a little alpha channel over here. I already did this, but let's make myself an alpha channel. I'll deselect, and let's try content-aware scaling on this one. And don't think for a second that you can come into a photo like this and make this wider, okay, and actually have it work. Okay, sure, it protected the butterfly, but look at what happens over here. So you gotta have the right photo for this, and that's probably the best thing that I can give you, the best advice I can give you when it comes to this new feature. Is it works really cool, it does some really amazing things, but you just have to make sure that you've got a photo that's going to lend itself to an adjustment like this.